Ladies and gentlemen, Juan Soto mania continues, and it was only a matter of time before the Dodgers got involved. Mark Feinsand with the latest, telling us the Dodgers and Soto will be meeting today at some point. And are we really that surprised? I mean, the Dodgers are basically the modern-day evil empire. Go back to the George Steinbrenner-led Yankees. When he wanted a player, he would get that player for whatever it cost. And the Dodgers, they kind of have that vibe to them this day. Now, Jon Heyman, he did put this out in his article yesterday, saying, while Los Angeles may not view themselves as the favorites in this derby due to their location on the West Coast, a Soto confidant downplayed the idea that geography is the factor some assume. Soto obviously must have some interest since it's believed he'll be approving the get-together. Now, there is a perception out there that Juan Soto would like to go to an East Coast team. He has family in the Dominican Republic and the Fort Lauderdale area, so a lot of people think he's not going to want to go back out to the West Coast. But there is also, something out there too that Soto did enjoy his time while with the Padres. He did, like being on the West Coast. So I would imagine maybe that's, guys from Boras putting that out there saying, no, he likes it anywhere, right? But it is pretty much assumed at this point that he will go somewhere on the East Coast. However, if he were to go to the Dodgers, I mean, could you imagine this lineup? I mean, this would be, I honestly think you could probably argue it'd be the greatest lineup of all time. You'd have Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Juan Soto. I mean, how do you even picture that? I don't even understand how you would even be able to work around those four guys. Now, where I have pause is, yes, I know the Dodgers have money. They can go out there and spend whatever the heck they want. But are they going to want to add another massive contract to this payroll? I mean, you got Ohtani. Yes, it is deferred money. He's getting paid $2 million per year. The AAV is at $46 million because of the present day value. But, you got Glasnow, you got Yamamoto, Betts, Freeman. That's a lot of money on the payroll right there, just, with a few players. Yeah, sure, you do have a lot of money coming off the books after this season. Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, they got club options. Edmund Rojas, Brazier, Barnes are going to be free agents. You do have a couple of guys that are coming up on arbitration here, Dustin May and Kopech. So yeah, you got a lot of money coming off the books, but again, are you going to be committing this giant amount of money to yet another player here? I just wonder how far the Dodgers are willing to go. But with Scott Boras, he's definitely happy about this. Oh yeah, the Dodgers, I mean, of course, yes, let's get them in the mix. Absolutely. With how much money they have, let's see what they're willing to throw down. And that's only going to help out Scott Boras and Soto get the massive contract that they are looking for in the end. Will he end up with the Dodgers? I'm not so sure about that. Now, Jon Heyman, he also put out yesterday that the Yankees meeting with Soto went very well. Seems like all these meetings have gone very well at this point. I still think the Yankees have a good shot at the end of the day, right? He just had a lot of success with them this past year, went to a World Series, had a career year. I could definitely see Juan Soto staying with the Yankees in the end, but the team that you really have to look out for, obviously, are the Mets, in my opinion, right? Steve Cohen, he's highly motivated. He's going to do what it takes to try and land this guy. There is another report out there that he is willing to go $50 million over the highest offer. I mean, could you imagine if someone offers $7 and then he throws down $750? Are you absolutely kidding me? I don't know what's going to happen there. But yeah, the Mets obviously are going to be huge players here. Cohen, it's just a matter of where will he stop? Where does it get uncomfortable for Steve Cohen? At the end of the day, I do think it is going to come down to the Yankees and the Mets. Sure, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, they had meetings. I still think maybe the Red Sox could have a small chance at this point. I'm not so sure about the Blue Jays. The farm system isn't looking all that great. Vlad, he's not even signed up to an extension here. So I'm not sure what chance the Blue Jays even have, really. The Red Sox, how things have gone over the last few years, I don't know. They have kind of lost the benefit of the doubt a little bit. So Juan Soto could be thinking, what is the real commitment to winning here? Even if you sign me, are you going to go out there and go get some other players? So I wonder if Soto is thinking that. But, obviously with the Red Sox, they're trying to get back to relevancy here. Obviously, they have a great history of players from the Dominican Republic, like David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Pedro Martinez. So, they have that leniency there. Will the Red Sox be able to get something done? As a Red Sox fan, I absolutely hope so. I would freaking love it if they did. But really, at the end of the day, I think it is just going to come down to the Yankees and the Mets. For the Dodgers, I just wonder again, I don't know if they're going to want to add another massive contract to this payroll. If they do, if they somehow figure this out and get this done, that is just absolutely stupid. But we'll keep an eye on this. We'll probably hear something by tonight or tomorrow, but let's move on to the next story. Now, I know we love talking about Juan Soto, but there are other free agents out there, and Willie Adames is drawing broad interest, according to John Morosi. He says here, the Astros, Blue Jays, Braves, and the Red Sox showing interest in Willie Adames. Now, Willie Adames is coming off a very solid season. Hit .251 with a .331 on base, a .462 on the slugging, a .119 WRC+, 32 homers, had a 4.8 F-WAR overall. The defense was a bit down at shortstop this year, but he has a good track record of defense, so I'm not really worried about that moving forward. However, he is willing to move to other positions. He can move to third, he can move to second, so Adames is a guy that I think could be very valuable to a lot of teams out there because he is willing to have some versatility on the defensive side of things. Now, the Astros can make a lot of sense if Alex Bregman ends up going elsewhere. Now, the thing is I wonder if the Astros are going to be bringing back Alex Bregman. He's going to be looking for a big deal. The Astros usually don't dabble in the massive deals in free agency. Sure, he brought in Josh Hader, Jose Abreu over the last couple of years, but a contract of that magnitude for Bregman, I'm just not sure if the Astros are going to want to play ball. But Adames is also going to get himself a pretty fat contract. Will they want to go to the lengths of even bringing in Adames, who is probably going to cost around $200 million? I'm not so sure about that, but he would be a good replacement at third base. Now, the Blue Jays, I think, would make a lot of sense. They really need to get another bat in this lineup. Vlad had a great year last year, but they need more in this lineup here. I think Adames would make a lot of sense. He could also play third base here. Bo Bichette is going to be a free agent after this year, so Adames can slide into shortstop in 2026. Now, I think the Atlanta Braves make a lot of sense, right? With the Braves, you got Orlando Arcia, but the bat was pretty down. He's very good defensively, but you could definitely use an offensive upgrade there. I think Adames would make a lot of sense. Now, when it comes to Alex Anthopoulos, will he want to give out a massive contract in free agency? That's usually something he hasn't really done. He's given out the extensions, but hasn't gone to great lengths in free agency, so I wonder about that. Now, the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox could have a chance here. I know people are going to say, oh, draft Nick Robbie, but, with the Red Sox looking to spend some money, they are looking to add some right-handed bats. I think Adames could make some sense here. The only way I could see it fitting, though, is if you move Rafael Devers off of third base and into more of a DH role, or possibly you could have Adames play second base. Second base is a bit of a hole as of right now, but with Adames there, you're going to be blocking, some guys that are coming up the pipe. Christian Campbell had a great year this past year, so I'm not sure really, if Adames is going to be, a great fit long-term at second base. So I would imagine third base would probably be the play, but would Rafi be okay with moving off of third? The defense hasn't been great. It was a little better this past year, but if you go back the last few years, he doesn't rank very well defensively. Now, there are some other teams I think you should keep an eye on. We just talked about the Dodgers with Soto. Now, at shortstop, Mookie Betts is projected to be at short right now, but you can just have him play second base, and then Adames can play short. I think that would be very good. But I also wonder with the Dodgers, you got Alex Freeland coming up the pipe. I don't know. I feel like that's a really solid player that the Dodgers can have, and he would be obviously very cheap over the next several years. So, I wonder Alex Freeland could be a guy that they call to for shortstop next year. Maybe the Yankees, they have a bit of a hole at third base right now. I could see them being involved here. I think they're waiting to see what happens with Soto, so we'll see on that. The Giants coming into the offseason, I thought they were a perfect fit, but recent reports are saying that they're looking to maybe cut some payroll a little bit, so not so sure about that. But with Adames, there's no surprise here that he has a ton of interest on the market, especially considering he is willing to play second or third base. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this. I know we're all thinking about the offseason moves and free agency and trades, but it's also award season, ladies and gentlemen, and the rookies of the year were announced yesterday. Paul Skenes winning in the National League and Luis Gil winning in the American League. Now, when it came to the voting breakdown, Paul Skenes got 23 first place votes compared to Jackson Merrill, who got 7. Now, Paul Skenes, obviously, this guy was just a freak this year. He was literally pitching in the College World Series last year, and now, pitching in an all-star game in his first season in the major league, starting the all-star game, for crying out loud. I mean, this guy was just an absolute beast. 23 games this year, ERA at a 1.96, FIP at a 2.44, had 11 and a half strikeouts per nine, 2 walks per nine, 0.7 home runs per nine. Are you kidding me? I mean, these are ridiculous numbers. These are numbers that you see in someone's prime, and this guy is 22 years old. I can't wait to see what Paul Skenes does in his career, but I think Jackson Merrill also had a very strong argument here. He had a great season that I think should not be overlooked whatsoever. 156 games, hit 292, a 326 on base, a 500 slugging, a 130 WRC plus, 24 homers. Also, I think an underrated part about Jackson Merrill is that he played good defense out in center field. This guy was a shortstop, and he went out to center field and got the job done. Yeah, that's not going to come up really on the stat sheet, but I think making a position change like that and excelling, I think is really underrated in my opinion. Jackson Merrill, I think, absolutely had a case to win this award. But Paul Skenes, when you just think of the star power, where he was in college not too long ago, starting the All-Star game this year, he was just all over the news. But Major League Baseball was promoting the heck out of this guy. And, rightfully so. This guy's very good, obviously. Paul Skenes winning the award, I'm not mad at it. I definitely think Jackson Merrill should have gotten more first-place votes, in my opinion. But it is what it is. But in the American League, we had Luis Gil and Colton Cowser in a pretty close race. Gil getting 15 first-place votes and Cowser getting 13. Now, Luis Gil had a very solid season in the Yankees rotation. He was a huge lift for the Yankees this year. 29 starts, ERA at a 3.50, FIP at a 4.14. You got to remember, in the beginning of the year, they didn't have Garrett Cole, so Luis Gil stepped up in a big way. I think he was massive this year for the Yankees, and, hey, was giving them some help in the postseason as well. Honestly, though, my vote would have gone to Colton Cowser. This guy was very good this year. Batting average a little low at 242. On base, kind of at 321, but a pretty solid slugging at 447, a 120 WRC plus, 24 homers. Also played good defense in the outfield. I probably would have voted for Colton Cowser. I understand why Luis Gil got the votes that he got. I do think he deserves the award. I think Cowser definitely had an argument. There was a reason it was this close at the end of the day. But either way, I'm not mad at either of the picks. Today's also a pretty underrated day in the offseason. You got a couple of deadlines. You got the deadline for free agents to accept a qualifying offer or not, and it's Rule 5 deadline day. Now, when it comes to the qualifying offers, Nick Martinez did accept his with the Reds. I was wondering if he was going to get himself, maybe a 2 or 3 year deal. He had a very good season this past year with the Reds between the rotation and the bullpen. I was thinking maybe he can give some good flexibility for a team out there, but he is 34 years old, so I was wondering, would teams be willing to give him a 3-year deal at this point? So in a way, not surprised that he accepted the $21 million from the Reds. He'll be a good piece for them next year. I think they're going to be back in contention. Now, Nick Pivetta, for Red Sox fans out there, people were thinking, oh, there's no way he turns down the qualifying offer, $21 million. But Pivetta has been very solid over the last few years. I mean, his ceiling is really a number 3 in the rotation. He's going to be a very good 4 or even a 5 in a rotation. He's very solid. He gives you a lot of innings. He has good stuff. He has some of the best stuff going back over the last few years. I think Pivetta is pretty underrated. The problem with him, he can be inconsistent. It looks really good, for a little stretch there, and then there's a stretch where he just gets hammered. So with Pivetta, there's teams out there where they see the stuff he has, they see the durability he has, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he got himself a 3-year deal in the $60 million range. So I do not expect him to accept the qualifying offer. Sean Manaea as well. I don't think he's going to accept it. He had a very good year this year. He's a workhorse kind of a guy. Would not be surprised to see him get a 4-year deal. Now, Luis Severino, who is also on the Mets, I do think he's going to accept the qualifying offer. Finally had a healthy season this year, 31 starts, 182 innings. But the numbers, he did look really solid this year, but ERA right around a 4, FIP a little bit higher. I think he might want to take one more year with the Mets, try and put together an even better season and then go back out onto the market next year. So when it comes to Rule 5 deadline day, here's how it works. Players first signed at age 18 or younger must be added to 40-man rosters within 5 seasons, or they become eligible to be drafted by other organizations through the Rule 5 process. Players signed at 19 years or older have to be protected within 4 seasons. So the players that I do think will get added to 40-man rosters, you got Colson Montgomery. He did struggle last year, but he looked good in the final month in the White Sox organization. I think he'll be on the 40-man. You got Owen Casey with the Cubs. Had himself a pretty solid season, 847 OPS overall. I think Owen Casey has a pretty solid future ahead of him. I don't see why he wouldn't be added to the 40-man. Zach Veen, this is a guy, the 9th pick back in the 2020 draft. There's a lot of upside with Zach Veen, a lot of raw talent, in my opinion, a power speed threat. I would imagine the Rockies are going to add him. Tank Hens, he's been a very solid pitcher in the Cardinals organization. I don't see why he wouldn't be added, but there's a few guys here that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Go back to the 2020 draft that I just mentioned. Mick Abel was also a high draft pick there, a highly touted high school pitcher, but he has not been able to put it together in the Phillies organization. This year had an ERA at 6.46, has good stuff, but he has trouble with the command, the control. So I just wonder if the Phillies are going to let him go at this point. Gunnar Hoglund as well. He was also a high draft pick there in the first round. He had elbow surgery, had Tommy John surgery not too long ago. He looked pretty good this year. ERA at a 3.44 over the 24 games. I think there's a good chance the A's keep him in the organization. We'll see. When it comes to a couple other guys in my Red Sox organization, Blaze Jordan. Blaze Jordan looked pretty good a couple of years ago, but this year he was kind of running into some trouble. Also got hit in the face. A very scary incident there. His face got completely busted up. But Blaze Jordan, there is a lot of power potential with him, but the Red Sox just have so much infield depth within their organization. I wonder if they do let him go. There's also Ghost Nixon Garcia. This guy's been in the organization for a while, but had a breakout year down in the minors. Overall this year had an 892 OPS, 23 homers, 17 stolen bases, but when he got to AA, the numbers kind of came back down a little bit, so I just wonder about that. You got Dom Hamill with the Mets, as well as Mike Vassell. These guys were, pretty decent pitching prospects not too long ago, but they just haven't been able to put together the results down in the minor leagues. So very interested to see what happens with these guys. But everyone, that's the news for today. Tell me all your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think is going to happen here with Juan Soto, Willie Adames? Tell me what you think about the awards. What do you got? What are you thinking here with Rule 5 as well as the qualifying offers? Let me know down below. But everyone, that's all I got for this video. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.